Welcome back to the Jimmy Dore Show. Pasta Jardula here, filling on in, Kurt in the house and JD on the side. Listen, I was looking at what was going on with the wildfires on Friday. I was going to do a story about it, but I figured let me just wait until Monday until we get some more information about what's going on. Now, the craziest thing about the Hawaii fires is that there's still no official story or on why or how these things got started. I was trying to understand it. And, you know, I heard speculation about different things. So what caused these fires? That's where I like to start in this whole situation because there's a lot to unpack. I'm sure you all over the weekend were looking at all the pictures, seeing what a lot of the people were going through, what people said had caused it, and what's going to come the aftermath. I think at the end of the day, the aftermath is the aftermath. And there's a lot of poor residential areas, middle-class areas within Maui that have been burnt down. And now you're going to see the big fish come on in, swoop on in, like BlackRock, Vanguard, come in and buy this land for pennies on the dollars because they pretty much just torched the economy in one swell. Not they, but the fires have torched the economy in one blink of the eye. A friend of mine who works on the island works about 2 hours away from that area where the fires were. He sells coconuts, and he would sell about 100 coconuts a day. You know, he'd climb up a tree, chop down some coconuts, hit the top off, put the straw in, sell about 100 a day. The other day on Sunday, he sold 6 coconuts. So they have wiped out the economy. The fires have wiped out the economy one shot. So this is what we know about the wildfires in Hawaii, and you can see the devastation that it caused. A summer of ferocious weather across much of the United States, which they always got to start off with because they want to keep that global warming in your head, has now yielded the nation's deadliest wildfire in more than a century, 2,500 miles off the west coast in Hawaii. What began as scattered brush fires on the state's biggest islands, Hawaii and Maui, turned deadly by the middle of last week. By Saturday evening local time, at least 93 people have been confirmed dead, and many on the island remain unaccounted for. The rapid spread of the flames caught state officials and residents by surprise, and the Maui Emergency Management Agency estimates that it will cost $5.52 billion to rebuild in Maui County. The death toll is likely to rise. On Saturday, the death toll reached about 93, making the fire among the worst natural disasters in Hawaii's history and the nation's deadliest wildfire since the blaze in northeast Minnesota killed hundreds of people in 1918. The fires have already been taking more lives than the 1960 tsunami that killed 61 people on the island of Hawaii, also known as the Big Island, and the death toll could rise as many rescuers travel to parts of the state that have been blocked by fires or closed roads. Dozens of people have been injured, some critically, and a precise death toll may not be known for weeks. Now, here's the question, Kurt. When you had seen stuff that was going on, remember we talked about this, we didn't do the show on Friday, we want to get a little more information. What caused the fire? What did you hear initially caused the fire?
The same thing that starts all fires, climate change.
Gotcha. See? Exactly.
Well, I didn't hear it, but I assumed.
But yeah, there were a lot of people who came out and said it was climate change, of course. That's the first thing they go to.
My cousin lives out there, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that like the last of like the native-owned land?
It is.
Very valuable property. Be a shame if something happened to it.
Well, this Lahaina, which used to be the capital of Hawaii before the United States intervention. Before they were liberated by the United States Marines. That was the capital. And from what I had heard, there had been some indigenous people, folks right there in that area that had dug their heels in and have turned away BlackRock investors who wanted to come in and buy their property. They refused to do so. But guess what now? It should be easy to push these people. What's the word? Nudge. They'll be able to nudge people right now to sell their businesses. No cause for the fire has been determined, but experts said one possibility was that active power lines that fell into these high winds initiated the wildfire that ultimately spread to Lahaina, a coastal town of 13,000 in western Maui that was leveled. Brush fires were already burning on Maui on the island of Hawaii on Tuesday. Those fires were stoked on Wednesday by a combination of low humidity and strong mountain winds brought by a Hurricane Dora, a Category 4 storm, hundreds of miles to the south in the Pacific Ocean. You're right. I got to talking loud here. But I like to get some of the local footage right now. And this is what they're saying. They're saying that a hurricane about 200 miles south created high winds with a lot of heat And there's a lot of talk of also in Hawaii, and the New York Times article I have in here too as well, says that the type of grass that's there, the type of grass that's been filled in since they pulled out the sugarcane is like almost like the perfect thing for a brush fire in Hawaii. So that's what they're blaming. But let's take a look. This is MauiNow.com. It's the local channel. And just take a look at the devastation as they're flying around on Monday morning very early.
Yeah, so this morning when we came to work, we thought I wanted to go over and see what the damage was and see if there was any way that we could help as a company to the people over in Lahaina. And so some of the pilots and the mechanics we hopped on board and we flew to Lahaina. But what we saw was disturbing because it was such utter destruction. There's hundreds of homes burned to the ground. Hundreds of people that are displaced with no place to go, but the place literally looked like a war zone, like it had been bombed. I mean, the structures, there's just nothing left. All of Front Street is gone. The harbor, the boats are burned down to the water. It's beyond description with words. It's a horrible, horrible sight, and it's just the impact that it has on all the people living there, that we're living there. We can't even imagine what they're doing right now and what their plans are for the future and for tonight and tomorrow night and where they're going to stay. It was just, I've never seen anything like that in my 70 years of my life. It's just, it's heartbreaking. And my heart goes out to the people there, and Maui needs to help and get together and do whatever they can to help those hundreds and hundreds of people that have no place to go, no home, no jobs. It's just, no words. I'm speechless.
So that's some local channels taking a look at what's going on over there. And it's kind of crazy the way this thing unfolded. And I have little pictures of before and after so you can take a look at the devastation that this caused. You can see it before right over here and after. I mean, it doesn't even look like a fire. It looks like it was like a bomb.
Yeah.
Some of the houses, some of the cars burnt down to the aluminum. Just nuts. So it was very confusing to me about what really caused this fire. Look at it.
Yeah.
Middle class, poor neighborhoods.
So wiped out. What seemed nuts to me, several things seemed nuts to me about this fire. I haven't looked into it that closely, but one of the things that looked nuts to me was that every time I saw a video, I didn't see a fire truck. I didn't see a fireman. I didn't see anything. And I'm like, well, maybe they don't have fire trucks in Maui. Could that possibly be? That can't possibly be. So go ahead. You got more to show?
The reason why that happens is, and we'll get to that too, is I don't know if you guys know this, but the emergency alarm system didn't go off. And they've been bragging about Hawaii, how they have the most sophisticated system out there, that it was good for the tsunamis. It went off a couple times earlier this year, accidental, and we also know about the great missile. Remember the one that Tulsi tells the Turby, the false alarm, where it was a nuclear missile. It was a nuclear missile coming. Okay, but they bragged about this system being updated, one of the best in the world. It didn't go off, and this thing hit like a lightning rod. So when they're saying 93 people are dead and the death toll could rise, you think? Look at this right here. These are people, they were jumping in the water to get away from this fire. They're in the ocean.
Holy shit. You're gonna be okay, Milo. Holy fuck.
There's the high winds.
Shit. Both sides, to the left and the right, are on fire. White smoke starting to come, which means the fire's starting to die. Fucking scary.
Wow. Can you imagine that?
No, it's hard to imagine.
Can you imagine that being in the water in the ocean? Hiding from a fire for hours. For hours. Eventually they got out of the water and they were able to retreat back into certain areas. Now, I brought this over here as well because I want you to listen to some of the stuff that's said, because once again, the emergency system didn't go off, but the way this fire kind of hit, it was like a lightning rod.
I would like to welcome in Pastor Kawehi and his wife Shalia of King's Chapel in hard-hit Lahaina. We understand it has been a brutal and emotional couple of days. I just want to say first, it's good to see both of you looking at least physically well, as we know what the damage is like there on the island. So thanks for joining us. You both escaped your home with your 2 young children when the wildfire engulfed your neighborhood. First, if you can tell me what the conditions were like, and then how fast did the danger escalate for you?
It was really fast. Our neighbor came over. Thank you, JJ. Our neighbor came over and he let us know that the fire was right above us at Paunau and one of our street names in Lahaina. And we got a few things and got in the car and when we didn't want to wait because we didn't want to get stuck in traffic. And so we got our children, our dog, and
Look at it.
jumped in the car. And
A war zone.
I told my husband to head toward Dad's, who lives in Waikapu. And
traffic was just congested. Everyone was trying to leave, So we headed down Dickinson, turning onto Front Street. Then when we reached Front Street, the fire had already crossed over past our house onto Front Street, and then you just seen buildings on fire on Front Street, cars just being engulfed in smoke. And I almost took the wrong turn, but my wife told me to go left, so I ended up going left, and everybody that was going in towards Lahaina instead of leaving Lahaina ended up getting stuck there. Buildings started falling apart, and we just headed out, and it's just behind of us as we're looking ahead towards Wailuku side. It's just clear skies, and behind us, the sky is just dark black, like everything was just going up in flames.
Now, I wanted to play that video because I wanted to point it out that people were wandering like they didn't know what was going on. They were wandering because they didn't know what was going on. They even said their neighbor came and said, "Get out of here," is because that emergency system didn't go off. I don't know if that's
once it got big though.
So yeah, go
ahead. Okay, so it didn't go off. Okay, that happens.
Yes.
But when JJ comes over to my house, shouldn't the people in charge of the system know by the time JJ gets to my house?
It ain't that big of an island to not know that half it's on fire.
And so the people in charge of the emergency alarm to go off, by the time that their neighbor JJ got to their house, shouldn't they know it and then just manually shut it off, turn it on?
Look, where's the part of the story
it's just like the Capitol Police story.
Yeah,
it's
it reminded me of that. That's weird.
That's where you guys couldn't. There was cops that could get there faster from New Jersey. They could get there from the Pentagon.
Exactly.
Really?
Where's the
same thing here? It's like what?
Where's the part of the story of the brave firefighters that some of them probably lost their lives fighting this crazy fire? I don't see. There's not any hey, these first responder heroes. I haven't seen.
That's what I'm asking. The question is, where are those stories? They've got to be out there, right?
Well, there was something reported that the person who was in charge of the system said that it wasn't working, so they tried to send out texts or other things. But towers went down, so cell phone service wasn't working either. So they had no way of contacting these people, and that's why they're questioning what went on with this system.
Well,
why did it fail?
Why did it really? Oh, just whoopsies.
So the whole thing burned down.
The thing we need more than
in that part of town, there's not like a fire station or something,
right?
So they said that in the last 5 years, the Hawaii emergency alarm system mistakenly went off 2 different times, causing panic among residents. This week, the system fell short yet again, but in a profound way. There was never a warning to the community about the latest wildfires set ablaze on the island of Maui. Most survivors had little warning of the gaining fire until they smelled smoke or saw flames, or if their neighbor came over, and this was reported by the AP. Dustin Kay, a resident city of Lahaina that's in ruins, left his home with his grandfather when the smoke started coming through the window. That's a hell of a friggin' warning, and when you're supposed to have this system. By the time we got in our car, our neighbor's yard was on fire. There were strangers in our yard with their water hoses trying to put out the fires. They didn't even understand the significance of this fire. Nobody knew what it was. They just, of course, they see some fire and they think they can put it out, not realizing that this is a crazy inferno coming this way. Hawaii has prided itself in the past on what it's called the largest integrated outdoor all-hazard public safety warning system in the world, equipped with, listen to this now, 400 sirens across the island. Not a friggin' one went off. But the Hawaii Emergency Management Team has no record of the sirens sounding to warn residents of the fire on Tuesday, per AP. Instead, Adam, who is a Hawaii Emergency Management spokesperson, said alerts were sent out through cell phones, televisions, and radio stations, which weren't reliable considering the power and the cell tower outages at the same time. So there was no way they were warned. There was no way they were told. It's just food for thought. So now we have a tragedy. People are in the water. People lost their houses. They lost everything. Now the conflict seems to be with the authorities trying to get something in play. You were saying, Jimmy, that you didn't see any fire trucks in there. Neither did I. Not enough. Not to mention right now.
I didn't see any. Are there some I didn't know? I don't know.
I saw a couple, but I watched a ton of footage the other day. But what's happening right now is that police seem to have lost control. And they're shutting down access to get in and get out. And people are trying to get in to see their spots. They're taking zones and they're saying you can't go over here. Here's a kid crying about help because there's some people said they were trying to bring in goods and services and all these other things that they could help people with, and they weren't letting them in. Or some that got through just weren't enough.
Messages. A lot of people are telling me like, you're doing so much. You're doing so much. You see everything that I'm doing. It is not enough. We need to open the fucking roads. And if anybody is going into Lahaina, if anyone can get through Lahaina, bring your fucking car full of supplies. Everything you could possibly bring. Don't go to Lahaina if you're empty-handed. There's so many people out here that need help. We came in 5 trucks, loaded, decked out, and that is not enough. That's like enough for one neighborhood. There are thousands of people out here. We need medicine. We need pillows, blankets, food, drinks, as much water as we can. There's so many people out here that need help.
This is a tragedy. This is something that's awful right now. And there's still no official story on what really caused these fires. They made speculation. We don't know what's what.
Biden said no comment when they asked him about that.
Well,
why would there be no comment about that?
Less than 5 hours after Maui County officials opened the Honopaliana, I can never say those words right, highway, allowing Lahaina residents to return since Tuesday's wildfires, police closed the roads in both directions after confrontations broke out between the residents and police over access to the closed areas. So the people just wanting to get in to their houses or where their house was or find out what's going on, missing loved one. Here's another tweet with tears in her eyes. We hit the road and spent 3 hours in just 1 mile of road, inching towards Lahaina. The line of cars was long, some turning back. We spoke to three police officers, all whom told us different reasons on why the residents and press weren't being allowed in. So we've heard of conflicts going on left and right. They're not being helpful. They're not being helpful. And right now, people just want to get back to where their houses were, where their loved ones were. It is a tragedy all in all. Now, I didn't speculate on what caused the fire right now, right? Of course, we've heard it could be a hurricane that came in with high winds, humidity. We talked about the grass. There are people said there was a lightning storm and it hit a field, caught it on fire, and the next thing, the brush fire with the grasses went crazy. Some other people were saying the winds knocked over a transformer, started a fire. Nobody knows. There's no official story right now. There's only speculation. And I bet you can believe what else they speculated online too as well, but I'm not going to go there on why they could do this, because at the end of the day, almost when you talk about COVID, the ends justified the means for people trying to make money, right? Well, I don't know if the ends are going to justify the means in this way, but what's going to happen to Hawaii, right? A lot of people say it's going to be bought up by big investors. Now that it's been torched and these people have no way of, holding on, there's no economy, that they're going to be forced to sell. And companies like BlackRock and Vanguard are going to come on in and they're going to buy up like crazy. There was somebody who had talked about, there was a local who had talked about that he was very scared that these big investors are going to come on in. So it's been mentioned.
So I don't know, like my cousin lives out there in Maui. I was texting her about it. And I said, like, don't worry, BlackRock will come. You know, you're sarcastic. And
you ain't being sarcastic. You're being serious.
Which said most of the land is owned by former sugarcane company.
Yeah.
Which is like their BlackRock or something. I don't know anything about that. Have you ever heard of that?
They used to produce a lot of sugarcane there. In fact, this is the reason they're saying in the New York Times they used to produce a lot of sugarcane there, and the sugarcane business went away. And what took place, what went in its place was this type of grass that they once were using when they introduced it's native of Africa when they had a lot of livestock in Hawaii. And that particular type of grass is very flammable. So a lot of those sugarcane companies still own the property. They didn't give it up. You know what I'm saying? And that's who the majority stakeholder is, these big corporations.
Oh.
Now, there's another story about this. Remember Build Back Better? Oh, this is crazy. The picture gets clearer after reading this. The government of Hawaii state's goal for rebuild is to make the entire island of Maui the first smart island. We talk about 15-minute cities. Remember these things? They want the entire island governed by AI as outlined in the Hawaii Digital Government Summit of 2023 that they have planned to host next month, Monday, September 25th, 2023, on Maui. Plans to implement digital AI government in Hawaii. So this is something that people have talked about. Yes, they've talked about.
Thank God some good will come from this tragedy.
Not good at all. But we've talked about a lot of these things. I mean, I've talked about Kiev maybe one day being a 15-minute city. Well, people have been talking about Maui being a 15-minute city. How convenient. It's very, very convenient that this fire...
How many... You better know why. It doesn't take that long to get places.
Well... But it's also, too, they want to be able to track and trace, check out all their systems. You've seen at the airport now they have this whole thing where you can walk in by yourself and you can buy your groceries. And
it's really handy. I wish I could get my phone installed in my hand and
you
make
get
it
your chip in your hand and stuff. Well, they want to test this all out. There's a lot of theories out there that the 15-minute cities is what they've been looking to do for quite some time. Well, here it is.
It's nothing to be afraid of.
This is just speculation now, ladies and gentlemen. I ain't standing behind this, but that's what they say. And it just so happens, what a coincidence, that they're going to be there in September.
Well, hopefully they'll get this cleaned up and have a great new digital island. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Come see our live shows. We're going to be in Chicago, Rosemont, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Toronto, Toledo, Detroit, St. Louis, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.